The price of everything. Marcus Chen's hands trembled as he held the weathered parchment under the vault's fluorescent lights. Latin text crawled across its surface like black veins, somehow still crisp after centuries. He shouldn't have been in the bank's document vault at 3 a.m., but after losing $50 million with Bitcoin collapsing, he was desperate for anything that might save him. The document had fallen from a stack of ancient property deeds he was searching for leverage. Its header translated to "the true value of all things," exactly what he needed. His Latin was rusty, but he managed to sound out the short incantation printed below. The words felt oily in his mouth. For a moment, nothing happened. Then golden numbers blazed to life in the air, floating above every object in the vault. 147 above a stapler. 1,893 above a filing cabinet. 43,591,227 above a stack of bearer bonds. Marcus laughed. He hadn't lost his mind. He'd found salvation. Over the next week, Marcus became the most successful trader in his firm's history. The numbers never lied. He could see the true value of every stock, every commodity, every currency. His colleagues called him a genius. His bosses called him a prophet. Then he started seeing numbers above people's heads. At first, he thought they represented net worth, but the values were too precise, too volatile. A barista's number rose by exactly 1,729 after she gave away a free coffee. A businessman's decreased by 4,391 when he ignored a homeless person's plea for help. Marcus realized with growing horror and fascination that he was seeing the value of human souls. The golden stains appeared on his hands after his first intentional profit from death. He'd noticed an elderly client's number plummeting and convinced him to transfer his entire portfolio to high-risk options. The client's heart attack made Marcus millions. No amount of scrubbing would remove the gleaming patches from his palms. But he couldn't stop. Each trade, based on his cursed insight, made him richer. Soon, half his hands shimmered with metallic stigmata. He took to wearing gloves. On the 26th day, Marcus saw them, thin figures in charcoal suits, counting stacks of gold coins in every reflective surface. Their fingers were too long, their smiles too wide. They ignored him completely, focused on their endless counting. His own number had been steadily declining. Now it was plummeting. Research into the document's history revealed a pattern he should have seen sooner. Every previous owner had died exactly 33 days after reading it. Their bodies were found desiccated, organs transformed into solid gold. Marcus had 1 week left to live. The ritual to transfer the curse required 3 things: the original document, a place of great wealth, and a willing recipient. He had the first 2 in the bank vault. Finding someone desperate enough for the third wouldn't be hard in this economy. 6 days later, Marcus stood in the vault at midnight, the document laid out on a table before him. Across from him stood Peter, a trader even more desperate than Marcus had been. The golden numbers above Peter's head flickered eagerly. "Just read this part here," Marcus said, his gold-stained hands shaking. "Then you'll have what I promised. You'll see the true value of everything." Peter leaned forward to read. In the mirrors lining the vault, the figures stopped counting. For the first time, they turned to watch. Marcus's number hit 0. Understanding crashed over him like a wave of nausea. The demons hadn't been collecting souls. They were collecting debt. Every profit he'd made was a loan against his own soul, borrowed at compound interest from powers that had been trading in human greed since Judas's 30 pieces of silver. The numbers he'd seen weren't soul values. They were countdowns, showing how long each person had until their greed consumed them completely. "Wait," he tried to warn Peter, but the word caught in his throat. A crushing pressure seized his chest like an iron fist. His left arm went numb, pins and needles spreading up to his jaw. The pain was beyond anything he'd imagined possible, as if someone had replaced his blood with molten lead. In the mirrors, the figures finally turned to watch, their smiles widening impossibly as Marcus clutched his chest. He caught a glimpse of his reflection, his face grey and sweating, the golden stains on his hands pulsing in rhythm with his failing heart. Marcus collapsed, knocking over a stack of deposit boxes. Through tunnel vision, he watched Peter begin to read, oblivious to what was happening behind him. The pain intensified, his heart spasming in his chest. His last thought was of all the wealth he'd accumulated, now as worthless as the gold-stained flesh that housed it. The cleaning crew found his body the next morning, fingers still clutched to his chest, face frozen in a rictus of terror. The medical examiner would later note unusual gold-colored deposits in his cardiac tissue, a detail that would remain unexplained in his autopsy report. The document was gone. Peter had vanished. Listening to this story online, you might notice a faint golden glow. Don't look up. You don't want to see the numbers that have appeared above your head. You don't want to know how long you have left.